Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another round of Mind Your Puckin' Business with your host, Jeffrey Huntsman.
Thank you, Diggy Sticks, coming to you as always from the beautiful studios of Undefeated Media here in Bergen County, New Jersey. A very warm and balmy Bergen County, New Jersey, I should say, for this time of year. This is the Mind Your Pucking Business podcast brought to you by our good friends at the Bamboozle Project. We thank them as always for their sponsorship. Check out their website, www.thebamboozleproject.com. Shop around the site. Look at all this cool MYP gear as we shift into a season change. It's always a good time to be a little proactive and get your stuff now before you really need it, in particular that winter hat. Use promo code MYPB at the end of the checkout process and watch 20% disappear like magic off of your order. We thank DraftKings for their sponsorship as always, and we welcome you to episode 172, 172. If you are joining us on the Spanish dial today, we appreciate you joining in. You can send us your questions at any time to mypbshow@gmail.com, or you can do what is becoming so incredibly popular. It is becoming a part-time job. Answer your DMs, but we answer all of them. We will answer you, I promise you. And you can send us your questions, your comments, your thoughts, your feedback, whatever that may be. You can do that at Mind Your Pucking Business on Instagram. You can listen to today's show live on YouTube, Instagram, or Facebook, or you can replay it at any time, streaming it at your pleasure. And we did look, last week was one of our most downloaded episodes ever. B-Rock and I looked, I think, before you came. And you can do that via the platform of your choice of either Spotify or iTunes. So plenty of opportunities to get us. If you are looking for us and you want to get your Ranger fix, you can find us. So
everywhere. So last episode, most listened to episode. What was our topics?
We had John from NYR Discussion on.
Oh, yes.
Very good.
Nice.
And him and I have spoken on the side about him coming back.
Nice.
So we will.
And we also took a lot of viewer questions, right?
We did.
So maybe you guys want to put some questions in the comments
section.
And
we already have some comments I see from Jason on Instagram. We see some from Michael on YouTube. And it's interesting.
Gets the people going.
Because the theme of this show today is going to go in a direction that I think is kind of predictable in a little bit. But what I would like to do is stick to the general format we do here, which is kind of recap everything since we've been last on. Thursday, they played Florida. Now, I came on here last week, and now I'll probably look like an idiot for saying so. This is not the same Florida team. Barkov is hurt, and, they're not playing well. And really, to me, the Rangers didn't play terrible in the game. They got in an early hole by going down early and just couldn't recover. I didn't think they played bad. I didn't think they played great. But I wouldn't look a lot into it. But one thing I would take away is it's a reminder that as the Rangers have had their best start since I believe it was 2009 to the season, there are still obstacles that you will see that exist, in particular a team that plays in South Florida, and that is the Florida Panthers. So last week was a reminder on Thursday that, you're still going to have to find a way to solve them. And you can see that it is still going to be an issue to do that. Do I take a lot out of a game that's played on October 24th when the goal is to play games on June 24th? No, I do not. But it is kind of a remembrance or a reminder, I shall say, that it's going to be a team that they need to get past. On Saturday, they played Anaheim. Now, I went with my wife and kids. I have to say the people that I met at the Garden that watched the show, and particularly the people that came up at intermission, cool. You guys are the best. Like, I could sit there and I could talk to you forever. I was almost as into talking to you guys about hockey as I was watching the game. So for those of you that came up and said hi or stopped me in the shirt, as some of you guys, you guys are the best. You really are. So I thank you for that. I enjoyed my time with you, and hopefully I will see you at some other games as well. The Anaheim game was 0-0 going into the second, and I felt, and I was there, so you kind of get even a better read being at the game, obviously. I thought the Rangers were playing pretty well. They just couldn't solve this goalie on Anaheim until the third period when Ryan Lindgren, of all people, which you probably didn't have as your first goal scorer in the night, scored to give them the 1-0 lead. Will Cooley scored, had a goal disallowed. Then Will Cooley scored again, had it reviewed, but that goal was allowed. And they held on for a 2-1 win against Anaheim. Now, one thing with that, and I'm going to probably end up annoying all of you and saying this every time it happens, and hopefully it happens a lot this season. Again, the value of Jonathan Quick. Jonathan Quick, the other night, was outstanding. The glove save he had in the second period, which was actually at the net right in front of where we were sitting in 216, was tremendous, absolutely tremendous. And again, when you can have a backup that's playing as well as he is and can get wins at the same time by giving Igor a night off, that is incredibly valuable. So again, the value of Jonathan Quick shows again. Last night they go down to DC. Now, I didn't think much of it. And then someone said to me, well, the Capitals will get up for this game because, the Rangers eliminated the Capitals not more than 6 months ago. And that's a good point, right? Like when you're playing a team, it's kind of like the Rangers a week ago against Florida. You probably had it circled because Florida took you out in the spring. Washington probably had last night circled a little bit because the Rangers were the ones who eliminated them by sweeping them in the first round. Not a good game. Not a lot to dissect. I don't want to dissect a lot from last night. The Capitals, I will say this, when you watch them and you watch their speed in particular, they're a pretty good hockey team. Now, it's early. You're not crowning Stanley Cups in October, and you're certainly also not crowning, Metro Division placements. But you have to give the Caps credit with the start that they've had. As last night, they completely outplayed the Rangers, and that score, even though it was 5-3 with an empty netter at the end, if it wasn't for Igor Shesterkin, that would not have been 5-3. And that's not a knock on Jonathan Quick. It's just that, Igor kept them in that game. Washington kept coming at them. Washington, again, could be a team that surprises here in the Metro and maybe gives the teams like the Rangers and the Devils that we think are 1-2 in the Metro a run for their money. But Igor kept them in it. The other thing last night that really aggravated me is that last night, if you watch the game and you watch the first 5 minutes, Alexander Ovechkin scored 2 goals in 5 minutes. Now, first off, this is not the same Alexander Ovechkin from years ago. So let's just get that out of the way. I understand he's chasing Gretzky's record and all that, but this is not the same Alexander Ovechkin from back in the day. That's one. But how he is left wide open in the slot, especially on the first goal. If you're going to tell me there's a blown defensive coverage against a third line guy, not an NHL all-time great, I can live with that. But how a guy, Alexander Ovechkin, should never be forgotten about when he's on the ice. It's probably like what most other teams have when they play the Rangers with Panarin. I'm sure coaches in their meetings in their pregame scouting says you cannot give Panarin open space. You can't give him time and space with a puck. How Ovechkin is left open uncovered is beyond me. So he scores twice. Not a good night for the Rangers at all last night. I'm not going to go crazy over it. I will take one observation positively out of it. And it's just something, it's been a theme that I don't think is getting talked about enough here. And that is how good the Rangers' third line has been this year with Cooley, Hedl, and Kakko. The third line has been great. I believe I saw a stat. Someone can tell me if I'm right or wrong on this, or if I'm far off or somewhat close. And that is being that their plus minus on the third line is out of control, whereas some of the other lines we're going to get to in a minute are not in line with where they need to be. So you don't like what you saw last night. I don't know that I go crazy over an October game in Washington. I'm not, but there's definitely some concerns there. The Rangers now will play Friday night at home against Ottawa, and then they will play Sunday at home against the Islanders. So they come back home for that. I'm going to go to the topic that everyone is talking about already on Instagram as well as on YouTube, and that is Mika Zibanejad. Mika Zibanejad. Now, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a teaser because you probably all follow Mind Your Pucking Business on Instagram, which is why you're here, and we appreciate that. But I will tell you that when we are done here in about 40 minutes or so, there will be a post going up on MYPB on Instagram about Mika Zibanejad. Now, but let's discuss this because it needs to be discussed. Mika Zibanejad so far this season has played in 9 games. He has 2 goals and 5 assists for a total of 2 + 5 = 7 points. And he's -3 on the season. Now, if I told you, I'm going to try and be objective here. If I told you, he's about averaging almost a point a game. And I said to you, if he ended the season with 82 points or thereabouts, Would that be an okay season for Mika Zibanejad? It probably would. I don't think people would go crazy. You would want more, but it would be okay, right? So what is the problem with Mika? I'm going to tell you the problem, and then I'm going to tell you the bigger problem that nobody is talking about. All of you that have DM'd me in the last 24 hours about this, no one has said this one thing. I'm going to say it in a minute. We'll get to it. But Mika Zibanejad just looks lost. There's a hesitancy to shoot. There was a power play in the first period on Saturday night against Anaheim. We were behind the net they were shooting at, and Mika was just hesitant with the puck. It's almost like he didn't know if he should shoot. It's almost like he didn't know if he should pass. And then when he passed it twice on that power play, the puck was just completely taken away by the defenseman and cleared down the ice. Mika Zibanejad looks lost. Now, I could take a positive spin, and I could tell you, and I would be right, and everyone would agree with me because it's factually correct, that Mika Zibanejad in his career has always, since the day he came to Broadway in 2016 or 17, whatever it was, he has always been a streaky player. Always. That's Mika Zibanejad. He's been so streaky that if you told me that Mika Zibanejad had a middle name that wasn't Swedish and I had to give him an adjective, it would be streaky. That's always how I think of Mika Zibanejad. But this now is getting to the point where he just looks lost and he looks disengaged. Then yesterday, there was a report that came out that said he's unhappy with his ice time. He's unhappy with the time that the first line has been giving and that he's been getting from Peter Laviolette and the coaching staff. Thank you. You said it. And I was about to say that every single person that has DM'd me about this issue has said the exact same thing. If you want your ice time, you earn it. Yeah. And you're also still playing with Chris Kreider, who again, I am not as big of a fan of as every Ranger fan out there is. I'm not against the guy, but I think I don't have a shrine to Chris Kreider. But if you're playing with Chris Kreider and Riley Smith, you should be able to do something that should earn your ice time. As I said a couple minutes ago, the third line of Cooley, Hedl, and Kakko has been great. They've been better than that line. If I am Peter Laviolette and I need one of those two lines out, guess what? Now, granted, it would be situation dependent, especially when you're talking about a third line, but I would probably lean on that third line right now and Cooley, Hedl, and Kakko. It's just what I would do. So, Mika Zibanejad, that is the problem. Now, do you want the bigger problem with Mika Zibanejad that no one is talking about?
Did his dog die or something?
No, it's not. No, it is not. Mika Zibanejad, here's the real problem that no one is talking about right now. Mika Zibanejad, if this does not get rectified or corrected at some point, he is under contract with the New York Rangers to the end of the 2030 season. That is 5 years from now. He has 5 more years here on Broadway. And you think about what he is getting paid and what he will do crippling your cap when he's going to be here for 5 years. If Mika Zibanejad was having the drop-off that he was having right now, and his contract ended in a year or two, you would be frustrated still, and you'd have a right to be frustrated. But you have a right to be more concerned and somewhat terrified, being that this guy is under contract until 2030. I mean, 2030. Let me explain something with 2030. It's a whole nother generation. My daughter will be in college in 2030. Mika Zibanejad is here that long.
So let me ask you this: prime time Mika, I feel like he's in the slot, he's cranked out, and he's getting a feed. He's cranking slap shots. He's not shooting the puck. Is that what's going on?
Mika Zibanejad is there's a lot of things that are not going right. The most concerning to me, if you want my opinion, which is why you're all listening, it's not the fact that his one-timers on the power play are going wide, which is, by the way, the most predictable play I've ever seen in New York Ranger history. But it's the fact that he's just so disengaged and he just doesn't look right. And then when you read the comment yesterday that he said where he's unhappy with his ice time, it also leads you to believe that, yes, in fact, he is disengaged.
Oh, man.
We'll take some Instagram comments real quick. 57 Joe, Krajinabad, which is, I like that, a combination for the Kreider and Zibanejad line. Can't play well with anyone. This is nothing new. It's been like this for years. No right wing works there. The common denominator is Kreider and Mika, who continues to not score 5-on-5. It's absolutely right. I mean, we've talked about on this show forever how Chris Drury or Jeff Gordon, however far back you want to go, has never solved finding the right fit on that line. And it just continues to be an issue. But the Mika Zibanejad thing, and again, we can talk about how it is an issue right now currently, and it is. And the Rangers also, let's also be real. What do they have? 2 losses? They're 2 losses.
6-2-1.
6-2-1.
Yes.
I mean, we're not going to sit here and say Mika Zibanejad is holding back the team. We'll get to someone else with a team record in a minute, which will set off a war here with people. But in any event, he's not holding back the team. But the concern to me is that if he doesn't come out of this, and I've got to sit through 5 more years of a number 1 center playing like this, that's crippling the cap, it's going to be a major issue. And what you saw in the offseason last year, this is getting way ahead of myself, and I probably shouldn't say this, and I hope it comes back to bite me and I'm wrong because I would like to be wrong. But if it does not get improved, what you saw last summer or this past summer with the whole Jacob Trouba, how the heck do we get rid of ourselves of this and the cap and all these years ahead, it's going to become Mika Zibanejad.
So, yeah, that was going to be my question. I'm sure there's no trade clauses, even if they want to trade him, he can't. He's not
he has a no movement clause. Very good point, Dougie Sticks. And I've looked that up. He has a no movement clause. He also is not going to want to go anywhere. Players, as we saw with Jacob Trouba, you're playing in New York, you're playing in an Original Six franchise, you're playing in Midtown Manhattan, and you're playing on a team that has a good, legitimate chance to win the Stanley Cup with the best goalie in the game. You're not leaving.
Okay, so he hasn't produced. Let's just down the line. He doesn't produce. We can't move him on to another team. We put him onto a 3rd line, and he says, "I refuse to play." What is worst case scenario here?
The worst case scenario is you'd have to demote him off the 1st line while he's still crippling your cap at that cap hit, which is the number 1 center cap hit. We'll take Brett's point because it's a good one, and I feel like the Mika questions have been becoming more frequent since COVID. So what Brett is referring to, and he's right, is in that COVID season of 2020, so the winter of 2020 going into 2021, where the NHL did this division where you only played your teams in your geographical area, a bunch of times. Mika Zibanejad got COVID. Now, I remember this, actually. The Rangers' first game was on my birthday. They were playing against the Islanders. They also got lit up in that game at home. But he was playing, and he was just out of it for weeks. It came out that the day before, I believe the 13th, he was diagnosed with COVID. Now, why he was playing is another story for another day. I don't get it. But he had COVID there, and now Brent is telling me in the comments that he's also had it recently as well. So I don't know what he's doing.
He's got the long-standing COVID.
Yeah. But look, I mean, anyone right now that is concerned about Mika Zibanejad is 110% entitled and correct to be concerned. And then it is even more concerning because the team can right now, again, they're 6-2-1. So you can't tell me that Mika Zibanejad is holding back this team. However, 2 or 3 years from now, at this rate or this slope, Jenny from the block, math teacher will like that, slope that we're seeing of him just falling down at a record rate, we're seeing a regression. What that will be in 2 or 3 years, that will be a problem.
So is it time to open up the legendary Ranger panic button?
No.
Okay, we'll put it back.
No, they're 6-2-1. We're not. We're absolutely
not.
Well,
not on the season. On Mika.
On Mika?
Mika panic button.
No, it's not. I'll say this, and we can revisit this. It's October 30th.
Yes.
When we have our first show in December, whenever that is, and you've had another full month of NHL action, by then, if there is still an issue with Mika, and we're still seeing this, and it's December 1st, we will then we can discuss that more.
Now, at that time, if nothing has changed, will there be line movements?
There would have to be. Now, again, there is a chance, and this is best case scenario, and it wouldn't be the biggest surprise either. It wouldn't be like this is best case scenario, but there's no chance it's going to happen. No, there's a chance. And that is that Mika is a streaky player. So we'll take some positive Mika comments. Scott on Instagram, I'm a huge fan of Mika. He's my favorite player, in fact. I've watched his YouTube highlights many, many times. The problem I see is if you watch his YouTube highlights through the early Rangers years, he used to score a variety of ways. Now he only does one-timers. That's his problem. That's a great point. That is a very, very good point. There is a synergy or a theme to the sort of goals that we have been accustomed to see Mika score, not just this year, but also the second half of last year. Also, remind yourself something. If you want to be an optimist on this, which is fine, you can be, and I'm not saying to be a pessimist either. Mika Zibanejad in Game 1 versus Carolina on Cinco de Mayo, we then named it Cinco de Mika.
Yes.
He had 4 goals, I believe, if I remember correctly, was only 5 months ago. So it's not like, we're sitting here looking at a guy that hasn't been good for years. He hasn't. He has. It's a matter of getting it back. So
is he getting his shots? Is he getting enough shots? He's not taking his shots?
He's getting enough shots. I don't think it's lack of shots. I think he just looks lost. I think that if I'm watching his on-ice stuff, I'm not as concerned with the stats. I'm more concerned with the fact that he just looks lost.
He's not finding the right openings and spacing.
He just doesn't look right. It's one thing if shots, like he's getting opportunities and they're hitting posts. Look, law of averages, eventually those are going to go in at some point. You're going to play a goalie that's not like Anaheim the other night standing on your head. But there's definitely reason for concern. Not to bring up another controversial topic.
Oh, it's the controversial episode.
Not to bring up another controversial topic. So back when the Rangers played the Capitals, because they played the Capitals last night for the first time since the playoffs. Back when they played the Capitals in April, I believe Game 2 was a Tuesday. And that was the famous episode, by the way, with the flannel, for those that are into that. Game 2 of that series. So, Game 2, the Rangers beat the Caps. The series shifts to D.C. on Friday. That Thursday, so the day before Game 3, we put out a clip that said, of me, enough with Matt Rempe. Like, enough. Okay? I've had enough. It was fun. I've never in my life, forget MYPB, forget about my real job my real business that I've done for 18 years, anything. I have never been chastised, criticized, called names like I was when I had my opinion of Matt Rempe that day. So much so that Instagram themselves took down some of the comments that people were, wasn't us, that took down because they were really bad. But I'll live with it, right?
Insanity will do that to you.
Okay? Yeah. That's fine. People wanted to go at me. I can live with it. That's fine. Whatever. However, I'm now going to give you part 2. This is the end of Matt Rempe. I have now had
all
enough.
The blood on his face.
So here's the thing. Matt Rempe. Let's not talk about last year. Let's talk current stuff. Let's talk
current sanity.
Let's talk 2024 and 2025. All right, season. 24. Now, this is a small sample. Okay, I understand that the Rangers are only 9 games into the season, but people that claim, and they did this over the summer as well, will say to me, they need Matt Rempe. Matt Rempe is a necessity. What are they doing without Matt Rempe? There is a moron, and I say moron, and I'm going to say moron.
Big for you.
There is a guy on TikTok, and Chris, who's watching, will know the name. I don't remember it off the top of my head. That literally makes posts about how important Matt Rempe is. And then the other day commented that he flew into New York City for the game that I was at against Anaheim, found out Rempe wasn't in the lineup, and decided to not go to the game.
What?
There are people that are this stupid and do not understand the game to this level, okay?
Wow.
But you want to keep that as your opinion that the team needs Matt Rempe? Man, woman, whatever, you're entitled to do that. This team is 6-1 without Matt Rempe and 0-1-1 with him. So now, how do you tell me that it is a necessity that the team cannot win without Matt Rempe? He is, as Michael is saying on the YouTube comments right now, at best a consistent fourth liner. And I don't even know if I would even use the word consistent. He is a fourth liner. I do not understand at all the hype that people still have with this guy. And now last night, I don't get into fighting. I don't care. I'm not saying get rid of it in the game, keep it in the game. I just don't really care that much. I'm impartial, right? He goes out 4 minutes into the game, I believe it was, and fights Dylan McIlrath. Now, Ranger fans know exactly who Dylan McIlrath is because he's one of the worst high draft picks this franchise has ever had. And, if you're scoring fights and you're into saying, oh, this guy won this fight, this guy lost this fight, Matt Rempe clearly lost that fight. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not a boxing guy, but I know enough to know that he lost that fight. I've had enough with Matt Rempe. Mm-hmm. I don't even understand it anymore.
So maybe it's not his like in-game play that people think is importance. Maybe it's his fighting, that it's being a brawler and being an enforcer.
But they don't. But if you're going to tell me that they need him, you can't dress. The New York Rangers cannot put their skaters out there without Matt Rempe in the lineup. Then why are they 6-1 with him?
Maybe it's like having like your older brother watching you from the bench that like gives you a little bit of you got the enforcer here.
I have had enough. And as some people are saying, and they're right, it's not worth it to have him in the lineup to play 5 minutes a game. I don't have a solution to say to you, okay, get rid of Matt Rempe and play Johnny Hockey and Johnny Brzezinski. I don't like Johnny Brzezinski either. But I wouldn't tell you that Johnny Brzezinski is a necessity to have in the lineup, and Matt Rempe is certainly not a necessity to have in the lineup.
So what should we do with Matt Rempe?
He should go back to Hartford. I don't care
who's taking that roster spot.
I don't care if he's here periodically through the year, but I'm tired of, when Jimmy Vesey actually will be the one that takes the spot. But I just don't understand how people are still so fascinated and fixated on this guy. What?
It's Rem sanity.
What am I missing?
It's Rem sanity.
And I will say this: one thing that is really nice about our Instagram page is I get a really good feel for what the majority of Ranger fans' takes will be about a topic. This Rempe thing has changed in the right direction, because now everyone, and you can see in the comments right now on Instagram, you can see on the comments on YouTube, people are over Matt Rempe. There's no one here that's fighting for Matt Rempe anymore.
Is that true, chat? Everybody here is over Matt Rempe. Rem sanity.
I don't care if he's in the lineup. What I care about is having to listen to idiots complain when he's not in the lineup that what are they thinking? How stupid are the Rangers? They're 6-1 without him. Don't tell me that they need him in the lineup. They don't. All right, let me get my blood pressure. Let me get my blood. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to calm my blood pressure with talking about excellent Ranger news from the past week.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent Ranger
news.
And that is last week on Friday, when there was nothing going on and the Rangers lost to Florida the night before, and you thought it was going to be a very light news day for the New York Rangers. Out comes the news that they have signed an extension with Alexis Lafreniere for 7 years at $7.6 million.
Nice.
Now, again, I love New York Ranger fans. I do. I got to hang out with them Saturday night at the Garden, a ton of them. Great. I love them. I do, right? However, you will see sometimes what is wrong with the fan base. And there were a couple people, definitely not the majority, the vast minority, that had a problem with this contract. And I was so annoyed that if you follow us on Instagram, you saw my story that I actually felt like I needed to tape while I was in my car working about how anyone could have any problem at all with this contract. Just to recap what I said in that video in case you missed it. Lafreniere is 23 years old. And by the way, speaking of ages, it is a Panarin's birthday today. So happy birthday to Artemi Panarin. He is 23 years old. He is young. We have seen a quantum leap. Again, I'm using that term, quantum leap in his progression. You now know that he should continue in those 7 years to improve more. And you have him locked away at a very comfortable term of 7.6. I still don't understand how anyone could give me any negative feedback. Even if you did pros and cons of the deal and you decided that you came to the right side and said, oh, yeah, it's a great deal. I'm not even sure what negatives you could have with the deal.
What would be the ideal deal?
For him? It's what he got.
No, but what is people saying? Oh, we should have got.
Well, some people were saying that it was too much money. It is not too much money for a 23-year-old player who, you want to get into the fact that he was a number one draft pick overall. That's fine. But look at how much he's improved in the last year. And you're also locking him up for 7 years. So if I don't want to say Mother Nature. If aging is correct and trends are correct, and he is in a position where 2 or 3 years from now, he's only getting better, and he is on a deal where he's still locked up for 3 or 4 more years, and his annual hit against the salary cap is only $7.6 million. That's a great deal. I don't understand any negative comments. I don't.
Yeah, him and Mika's contract will be up around the same time in 2030.
And Chris has a good point. We'll bring up what Chris said, and that is if you don't care about the first 2 years of his deal, then you shouldn't care about the last 2 years of Igor.
Wow.
So, which is a topic for another day. I tell you, even last night, I was thinking driving home. I had a hockey game last night. I was driving home, and I was thinking that if I'm Igor Shesterkin last night, I'm annoyed, right? Because I played really well, but statistically, it's going to be shown letting up 4 goals because the 5th one was an empty netter, and how important his stats are this year because it's like obviously the contract of all contract years. I was thinking that last night, like driving home, like, wow, he's got to be annoyed that he let in 4 because that's going to move his goals against up. So, if this conversation was about Kakko, it would be much different. That is true, Brent. Now, Kakko, by the way, and I'm going to say it, has had a very good year so far. I believe, yes. Kakko silently. Now, again, he's on the 3rd line, so you're not looking for him to put up Panarin numbers or numbers that Mika or Kreider should be putting up. Has had a very, very good year. That line has been as much of a pleasant surprise as a story for this team through the first 9 games as any other storyline. Is how good the Cooley, Hedl, and Kakko line has been.
Kakko finally woke up?
I wouldn't say he's finally woke up to be what we thought he was going to be, but I will say this. He has had a very good year.
Is he on a contract here?
But Kakko is not going to be in a position where if the Rangers let him walk, people would go ballistic. As a matter of fact, you might have more people be happy than sad. And he's also, if he were to stay here and get an offer from Chris Drury, which he will get some form of an offer, it's not going to blow up your salary cap, which you have to keep in mind, of course, with Igor, which is the whole discussion with that, or, Lafreniere, and also why that deal is so good. And Mika, to bring it all together, why that deal can be so bad, because it's now going to count against your cap till the year 2030. And that is a problem. That is a concern.
Mika's got to wake up. Start drinking what Kakko's drinking.
Yes. So the Rangers, a Friday night return home against Ottawa and Sunday against the Islanders. I would think, well, Igor will play Sunday versus the Islanders. I wouldn't be surprised if Jonathan Quick played Friday night. But then, well, you know what? But then they're off until next Thursday against Buffalo. So maybe you give Igor both games. Igor's definitely playing Sunday. It's a matter of who plays Friday night. But Jonathan Quick's been good. He's been 2-0. I would start Jonathan Quick.
Based on yesterday's performance, like you don't think he's a little fired up?
No. And a cliffhanger had a really good stat to kind of pull the whole 3rd line together. The 3rd line of Cooley, Hedl, and Kakko is +10 after 9 games. That is the best plus-minus of any line in the league.
Wow.
Who would have thought? Now, again,
not us.
Not us. But while we're talking about Kakko, because he is a third of that line, he's got to be given credit. He's been pretty good. Kakko had a play Saturday night in the 2nd period because the Rangers were going the other way, where he basically went into the corner, dug the puck out of the corner against 2 guys, centered it, and someone shot wide. I don't remember who it was. I'm not saying the name because I don't want to say the name. I just don't remember. And someone shot wide, but it was a great play by Kakko along the boards. Yes. And we might just have to get accustomed to that's what the strength of this guy is, right? I mean, it is. But that is it for the Ranger talk. We will, like I said, we will put up the Mika post when we're done. You can all comment there what you think. That will go up as soon as we're off the air. Let's quickly go to the NFL. I took some flack this week. I don't ever go back ever and watch what we say over. Like I don't go back and rewatch episodes. If you ask me what we said, I literally don't remember. And apparently last week when we were doing football, because it's now been brought to my attention by 3 people that were mad at me. So I'm going to own up to it. Apparently, I still haven't gone back and watched it, but I'm assuming it's true because I've heard about it from more than one person. I had said in my picks that the Jets, who were -7 at the Patriots, would definitely win. I might have said that they may not cover the spread, but they will win in Foxborough because the Patriots are awful. And the Patriots are awful.
Yeah.
So I had thought that.
Yeah.
Obviously. I apologize for that.
What are you apologizing for?
I will tell you what happened. I was not going to be able to watch the Jets-Patriots game. Okay. My daughter had a soccer game at 2 and the Jets game was at 1. We were driving to her game and found out that the other team randomly was forfeiting. So I said to myself, okay, I can go home and actually enjoy watching the Jet game and see them beat up on the Pats because I can't stand them, right? Yeah. And here we are, 2 hours later, watching them lose at the end of the game. I mean, you cannot make it up.
It's crazy.
On the bright side.
Well, yeah.
What
could possibly be bright about the Jets?
Well, the bright side with the NFL is we had another winning week. We are now 4-3-1 on the year. So if you've been listening to us, you're listening to us right now on a boat in Aruba because we've made you some money. We had the Titans plus 10.5 at Detroit, did not hit. We had the Eagles plus 3 at Cincinnati, that won by a mile. We had the Cardinals plus 3 at Miami, that won. And we had the Raiders plus 9.5 against the Chiefs, that hit. We had the Cowboys plus 4.5 at the 49ers, that didn't hit. So we had 3 up and 2 down. That is a winning week. That is taking our overall record 8 weeks into the NFL season at 4-3-1. So here are our picks for week 9. I'm going to do it. I don't know why. I'm going to do it. I'm going to take the Giants plus 3.5 at home versus the Commanders. The Commanders are a better team. I mean, the Giants have to at some point show up. 3.5 I like. I don't know. I would take him if it was under 3. I'm taking the Giants plus 3.5. I'm taking the Giants plus 3.5 at home.
Jane Daniels kicking butt and taking names. They're at the top of the league right now.
I'm taking the Cowboys plus 2.5 at Atlanta. The Cowboys need to respond, and it seems that every time the Falcons are at home, I got burned by this 2 weeks ago and are given points, they don't show up. So I am taking the Cowboys plus 2.5 at Atlanta. I'm taking the Jaguars plus 7.5 at the Eagles in the Doug Peterson returns to Philadelphia Bowl. I like the Jaguars to at least get some of those points and need them. 7.5 is more than a touchdown. Give me the Jaguars. I like the Cardinals minus 1 at home versus the Bears. I'm a little confused on this line. There's got to be something going on somewhere. That's a pick'em game to me. The Cardinals are the better team, and the Cardinals are coming off a good road win, while the Bears are coming off a road disaster with a Hail Mary at the end. I'm taking the Cardinals Cardinals minus 1 at home versus the Bears. Lastly, I'm going Monday night. I struggled to pick a 5th game. This is what I'm taking. I don't love it, but I'm taking it. Tampa plus 8.5 at Kansas City Monday night. Kansas City struggling with the offense to get going. And 8.5 is a lot when you're having trouble putting up points that you need to cover. So I'm taking Tampa plus 8.5. So to recap, I'm taking the Giants plus 3.5 at home versus the Commanders. The Cowboys plus 2.5 at home. Cowboys 2.5 on the road at Atlanta. The Jaguars plus 7.5 in Philadelphia. The Cardinals minus 1 at home versus the Bears. And Monday Night Football, Tampa getting 8.5 at Kansas City.
You don't want to touch the other New York team,
Jets? The Jets are my. I won't be part of the 5. Texans minus 1.5 at home. I'm going to take the Jets because there's just a part of me that believes at some point, right, they're going to have to do what they need to do. And Stephon Diggs is out for the year with a torn ACL for the Texans.
Now, Buffalo.
The NFL doesn't care about, right? The NFL is about TV ratings. They don't care about attendance. So they'll get their TV ratings tomorrow night on that night. However, if I'm the Jets, having a game on Halloween night has got to be brutal. Who is going to go to this? If you have kids, right, you're out. You have to deal with trick-or-treating. The Jets stink. Houston is not like a team that travels well. Like if you're playing the Steelers and it brings in a lot of fans. I can't imagine that this stadium is even maybe 50% full last night, and both teams stink. That if I'm the NFL, if I'm the Jets, I've got to be real annoyed that this was my Thursday night game, and it's on Halloween too. There's going to be no one there.
So what's hilarious, you're absolutely right. What's also hilarious, we were talking about before the show, if Zerline could hit a couple field goals, this season's completely different.
Yes.
Completely different.
It is. It is different because he missed, obviously, some kicks against the Patriots. He missed the long Denver game.
Denver game.
Yeah.
Buffalo. Didn't he miss like 3 kicks in Buffalo?
He did, yes.
Like easily 3 games could be on the win column.
I just had this discussion with someone last night at my hockey game before the game. I love Mike Francesa. Like the heyday of sports radio was Mike and the Mad Dog back in the day. And when Mike Francesa gets mad and gets like angry and his voice gets raised, it's like Oscar winning quality to me. There is a clip of Mike Francesa 2 days ago talking about Greg Zerloin. If you have Instagram, which you probably do, go look up the Mike Francesa show. I'm gonna tell you the name of the clip, although it shouldn't be that hard to find. And he talks. It's like literally he loses his mind right away, and it is awesome. If you go to his page, Francesa Podcast, and then I believe it is like the third clip down or something. It is called Fiasco After Fiasco. It is from 3 days ago when Mike talks about Greg Zerloin, and he talks about like how Bill Parcells used to talk to him because he's friends with Bill Parcells about kickers. Like if you like Mike if you're old school like me and you like seeing Mike get like enraged, go find that clip.
Apparently, the Jets are hosting a 6-man kicking competition. They do not know who will be the kicker this Thursday night.
Yeah, I don't know. But like here's the thing. Some moron, I won't mention names, on this show was clipped as saying the Jets were going to win the Super Bowl this year. Now, I don't know who he was. I don't want to mention names either if I think I know who he was.
Everyone thought that.
But when you make a pick like that, okay, and they are 2-6, and they are,
but they could easily could
but it
be
doesn't matter.
6-2.
I'm not looking for you. I'm
easily.
I appreciate you trying to come to my defense here, which is what you're doing. But I had them to win the Super Bowl, man, and they are 2-6.
I feel like he missed field goals in the Titans game. He missed field goals in the Broncos game. He missed field goals in the Bills game.
But you won't look at the Broncos
and
game.
The Patriots.
You won't look at the Titan game, and you're right. But you won't look at the Titan game as it matters because they won it, right?
All right, fine, sure, but 3, definite 3, and I'm probably missing 1 or 2. They won against the Patriots the first time. They lost to the Broncos by 1. He missed 4 field goals that game.
Yeah,
he missed 4 field goals that was 3-point each, and they lost by 1 point. The Vikings, they lost by a few points. Maybe he missed a field goal there. I'm not even going to take that one. You can have the Vikings. He definitely missed multiple field goals in the Bills. That's 2. And he missed field goals at the second round Patriots. So they could easily be.
You're not
5-3.
You're not wrong. And Chris has a good point. The Jets Super Bowl is the new year of Kakko, not Lafreniere, which is me last year saying that it was going to be the year of Kakko, and it was the year of Lafreniere. So that is it for us. Again, the Rangers at home Friday night against Ottawa, and then a rivalry game, always fun, Ranger Islanders Sunday. And that will wrap it up. We thank the Bamboozle Project for their sponsorship as always. Go to thebamboozleproject.com. Check them out. Use promo code MYPB. Save yourself 20% off your total order. And you can also thank DraftKings for us for their sponsorship as well. We appreciate you listening. Again, the Mika post will be going up momentarily. So for those of you who have Instagram, you can give us your feedback on that. And we will talk to you next week.